If I have recommended and they went back and had a good experience, they would come back and say, okay, it's Vishal who's recommended. So if you travel towards Uzbek and Ukraine side, right, people actually eat horse meat. I mean, recently, my flight to Abu Dhabi was like completely free of cost only because of these points that I've actually traded in.
Hello guys, welcome back to our podcast. Today we have a really interesting personality with us, Mr. Vishal Fernandes, also known as the Fernandist on Instagram. A really interesting personality. I am excited to learn more from him. He does a lot of travel blogging, he curates experiences, he does a lot of lifestyle luxury branding and stuff, and also some spirits tasting. He just does a lot of stuff. I'm very excited to get into all of this. So let's get to know him. So Vishal,
thank you.
Tell us more about you, how you started, what your formal education is, so that we get a complete picture of that personality that you are right now.
Well, thanks for having me over. Definitely, I love your podcast. I've been following it and love how well the content is curated. A bit about me. Why the Fernandes? It's from my last name, Fernandes. So I just wanted to have an Insta ID that talks about my personality and couldn't think of a better name than my last name itself. So hence Fernandes. I've done my master's in information systems. And so by profession, I actually deal in cybersecurity and data privacy. And that's a job I've studied for and I still continue to do it. Not many people know about it. That's something that I do during my daytime. I don't talk much about it, but that's only because, I let my other hobbies be more visible on my social media, because for professional life, LinkedIn is there. So other than that, I think since childhood, I've always been fascinated with travel, things that revolve around, newer cultural experiences. It could be from food. It could be from, a bit of history around those places. So with that fascination got me travel from the young age itself. And thanks to my dad, who also was a hotelier, who's now retired. But through him, I was able to explore certain cuisines and certain food. I had access to, certain cuisines and certain hotels and things like that through him. And then thanks to my roots also, half my roots are from Goa. So I kind of had access to, some of these nicer places around Goa. And hence that food interest has always been there. So as and when I started to do my college, like-minded friends, we would go explore things. And
college was here, Hyderabad?
College was here. I studied from St. Mary's. So me and some of my friends would go out to explore the lesser known things around the city. And hence
This was which year?
I passed out of my graduation around 2008. Yeah. So around that time is where, there was this influx of social media that started to come in. I remember we had these groups on Orkut back in the day called...
We're talking way back in the days.
Yeah. No, so I was actually part of the social media right from this social media called Hi-Fi. There was a social media, very prominent social media called Hi-Fi. Then came Orkut. And within Orkut is where, we had these extremely like-minded communities that would come together, explore few hobbies and interests. So I used to lead some travel community there. I used to lead a food community there. And then Orkut started to slow down. And then came Facebook. And with Facebook again came the communities. And then while I was part of some of these communities is where I met these like-minded people who are so passionate about, things around food, things around travel, things around some bespoke experiences. I started to interact with them. And
so Orkut and all was 2007, 2008.
Yeah. So around my plus two, 2006, 2007, I was in Orkut.
And then Facebook
2008, 2009 is where Facebook happened. Yeah. So around the time is where I started to meet these people, explore cuisines and things with them. Then interest started to develop. Then someone, a very old gentleman told me that, you actually have become a certain opinion leader on the social media. So why don't you actually start your own blog? Because by the time I want to ask for recommendations which you've already put in, that post has gone somewhere thanks to your Facebook's feed. So I want to go back and see something. So that's my first time, I actually decided to start off a blog back then on Blogspot.
Okay.
So I started a blog back then.
But sorry to cut you off. A lot of people are passionate about travel. A lot of people are passionate about the food, about the bespoke experience, and a lot more things, right?
Right.
But many people, they just want to enjoy it for themselves and then just forget about it, move on to the next experience. What made you realize that you want to share this with people and bring that awareness and maybe also guide them?
So honestly, I was also of the same opinion that I wanted to just do it for myself. But when I was sharing these same opinions on social media, I kind of realized that there are people silently looking out for my recommendations and opinions.
Okay.
And it so happened that, there are times when, if I haven't posted something for a longer time, people would actually ask me if everything was all right with me because I haven't posted anything yet. So when they were keen on looking at these experiences, so I told I would actually guide them back to certain posts, recommendations and things like that. And what happened with my blog is that, it became like a one-stop place for people to go and visit.
Figure out
what I have done, where I have visited and things like that. I was talking about your point. I mean, when you said opinion leader, right? I mean, people started to tell that value my opinion so much so that if I have recommended and they went back and had a good experience, they would come back and say, okay, it's Vishal who's recommended. So it's genuine. It's genuine and it's pretty good.
So what you're saying is back then there was less follow button, but more following.
Yeah, a very indirect way of following too. There are people who wouldn't even really follow me on any of these platforms,
but make it a point to go and look it up.
Correct. Yeah. So that happened.
So this was 14-15 years ago when you started. So what made you realize that instead of just, rating a dish or just writing some casual criticism about the food or the travel or the hotel you stayed at, what made you actually, sit down and write the whole experience down, break it down so much so that, a person without actually being there can actually imagine the experience in their head and figure out, okay, this is what I want to experience. Where did this idea come to you?
So honestly, it was the other way around. It's like, whatever I used to put it out is something that I wanted to read about it.
Okay.
So that way, when I would visit a place, I would want to know how good the washrooms were, how good the service aspect was, how good the hygiene aspect was. That is something which I wanted to read and know about before visiting a place. And hence I started to incorporate that on my own checklist when I would review a place.
That's really interesting. You sorted that bathroom fear of people. So how much has the game changed from then to now? Because now I see a lot of food bloggers on Instagram. Everyone's creating content, and everyone has their own different take at it.
Right.
Someone does a voiceover, someone does, fancy reels, and someone, likes to write a story about it as such. So you do it in a very different manner.
So I think a lot has changed where, now we have people who influence each other to go and try out a place, but you do not have a expert doing that anymore. I tell you the difference because, back in the day, I remember there would be genuine food influencers or people who understood what they were writing about, what they were talking about. I mean, there was no difference between like a dum biryani or a kache gosht ki biryani and differences like that, or even understand various cuisines altogether. They knew what an authentic butter chicken would actually taste like. But now it's more about how viral your content is because of all the gimmicks that you add. It could be like a trending audio, it could be a trending the way you capture these reels and things like that, the way you edit it. That is what has made people go back and try. Things have drastically changed in that way since the beginning.
So the whole story of where the dish origins from, the story behind it.
So very less people talk about it. They like everyone talks about, say, a Chettinad chicken, for example, but nobody knows where Chettinad is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there is a place called Chettinad where this chicken originated it.
Yeah.
And what makes a difference is, the kind of spices that are used in this region called Chettinad. So that is the, kind of information which people do not talk about anymore. And then when you're going out to places also, what's important is having each of these cuisines that you talk about, people should understand what difference it is from the other place which is offering the same thing. Like you might be talking about like this pizza is perfect today, but tomorrow you go back to another place and you still call it a perfect pizza. Now you are giving me two options, right? So I want to know which one should I choose finally. Yeah. So that differentiation nobody talks about these days.
Yeah. So any advice on these young kids who are doing this on how to bring about that change? And
no, to be honest, I think whichever area that you actually identify, right? I mean, it's good to go into that whole segment of ensuring that your content reaches the right audience. But more importantly, people will start having respect towards you when you become an opinion leader in that niche. Yeah. Like you should be aware of what you're talking about. If you say that today, this place or this dish that you've had or this burger that you've had is extremely good, that means it should be good. If it is not good, then my opinion towards you has come down because you're just talking about saying that this place is good.
Yeah. Do you also believe that a lot of these dishes, like you said, like Chettinad chicken originates from a place, it has a story because it's made from what was available in that place based on the weather, right, what was cultivated there?
Obviously. I mean, I think, there's a saying that language and food changes every 150 kilometers or certain radius. Now what is around that region is what becomes your staple. Talking about that, I mean, India being a country which is so vast, I mean, cuisines are
every locality has its own experience now.
And similarly with every other country also that you actually travel to, they have their own indigenous things that they actually eat. So there is a certain story, there is a certain influence that comes from those regions only. What makes that dish or things stand out? Like I remember, I mean, when I went to Cambodia, people actually eat reptiles. And why? That's because that is what is available around, and that becomes the staples. So, but do we eat it here? No, obviously, because
it's found, but we don't eat it.
Yeah, that's because we don't need it. We have something else which is abundantly available, and that's become our staple. Similarly, I think if you travel towards Uzbek and Ukraine side, right, people actually eat horse meat. I mean, that's again, it's looked at as a very weird thing here.
Dish over there. But
yeah, it's looked at in a very different way. So that's only because what's available around becomes people's own cuisine, and that carries across. So today when you actually tell that if you've had a Chettinad chicken, was it like just another spicy chicken have you had, or was it really had that Chettinad flavors, which is a lot of black pepper, which is a lot of local spices which they have used. That's how it differs.
Yeah. And you are someone who travels sometimes just to taste the authentic dishes to that place. Like when we were talking on the phone call, I remember you talking about traveling up north just to have butter chicken, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the travel came into the picture and mixed up with the food.
Correct.
So you also write experiences about how to travel, how to select a place to travel.
Correct.
And based on your purpose of travel, you pick your stay.
Correct.
Right? So tell us something about that. How do you curate that experience?
Well, again, in terms of travel, if you're specifically talking about hotels, there are so many options available, but you got to determine which is the right property for you. Now, with that said, if you are traveling on a business, for instance, and you see that there is a business hotel, but what do you need out of a business hotel? Is it just the bread, breakfast, and a Wi-Fi? Is that enough? Or do you want to soak into the whole character of that place and you want to opt for a boutique hotel like that? Or if you want to splurge on luxury, I mean, that's again something that you might want to do. So you just have to put your thoughts into each of these brackets, saying which is a specific hotel that you actually want to stay. So I've known of people who've traveled to some of these exotic destinations, and then they decide on staying at some of those budget hotels and expect a lot more higher standards of service. But that's not how it works. Each of these brands that we talk about, various hotel brands have a certain portfolio, and each portfolio has a certain offering.
Yeah.
And like for instance, if I just have to mention some brand names, Ibis, in my opinion, is a very pure, the bed and breakfast, small cozy rooms, and it's for someone who just wants to have a quick nap, sleep, and then move out.
Get back to work.
Similarly, I mean, you wouldn't find a specialty restaurant in an Ibis. You'll just find a good coffee shop, good coffee, and that's about it. But if you move a little up the ladder, like a Mercure, that has a different brand positioning altogether, and that might have certain offerings which would appeal to you. So that's how you understand which brand suits you the best and decide on where to, stay. My personal travel experiences, I decide purely on the basis of, first thing, I have a lot of these loyalty points that I've subscribed to most of these hotels. So whichever is giving me a better deal, I actually stay on that. Second is, if I'm going to a very culturally enriching place, I would like to stay at a much more boutique hotel to soak into all of these experiences. And the third is, if I want to splurge on a luxury property while just being there at the property for 2 to 3 days and soak into everything that the hotel has to offer, I prefer something like
upscale.
Yeah.
Along with these brand positioning, and every brand umbrella has different pricing points in it, tell us about how these brands try to communicate a story about the city with their rooms and their interiors and their offerings.
Right. So honestly, each of these brands, when they come to a certain city, they try to incorporate certain cultural elements. You know, like it could be on the name of how the restaurant is. Like if you look at an ITC Kohinoor here, it's like the whole hotel itself is based on this precious the stone that was actually the diamond that was actually found, and then once you start looking at some of their signature restaurant like Dampok's Begums, is purely about how the food is actually curated from the kansamas of the Nizam's era. Now when you stay at these hotels, you'll find a smaller elements like how the paper weight would actually be like a Kohinoor diamond in itself. And then some of these paintings and artworks in each of these hotels.
The lighting fixtures as well.
The lighting fixtures will have a lot of local element. I've stayed in a couple of hotels in Lucknow recently. I mean, they had pillow covers made of chicken curry, cloth. That's because they are popular there. And then I went to another hotel, sometime back in Guntur again. So they have Pochampalli silk, they've actually made a pillow cover. And some of these throws on the bed is also again made from local silk. So most of these hotels try and incorporate the local elements into the hotels. And that is definitely a win for me, because when I'm traveling to a new place, I want to soak into it directly or indirectly.
Yeah. Now that we spoke about the stay and stuff, let's talk about the food. So let's just say you go to these places. Would you prefer having those local dishes and delicacies at the hotel, or you'd prefer going out and exploring?
Well, 100% I'd prefer going out and exploring. Also, each of these hotels are also equipped with curating and coming up with better food options, for business travelers like us, who want to stay at the hotel. So for me, first priority is to explore what is around, what are the popular places that I should visit, and soak into the local cuisine. Along with it, if I do have much more bandwidth, I don't mind indulging that in the hotel itself.
Being such an enthusiastic traveler and someone who likes to explore places, understand, soak in the energy and the vibes, you must be a very smart traveler too. When I say smart, it can mean, in terms of the kind of stuff that you carry with you when you travel, being a content creator also, we can say. But also you must be a smart person when it comes to using your cards, because a lot of people don't understand that the credit card is not there just for transactions. It can be a smart weapon or a tool for you to get past a lot of other financial hassles when it comes to travel. So tell us about that.
Well, I'm glad you actually touched upon this topic. I think ever since I started using credit cards, I didn't look at it as a liability that every month I have to repay back, but how to hack into credit cards and benefit the most out of it. And most of these credit cards actually come up with extremely good value adds, which not many people are aware of. For instance, I use an amex card, so the number of points that I actually get out of it with all my spends, I've kind of like transferred that into a couple of hotel loyalty points, and I have gone on a free vacation only using these points. And some of the airlines, like recently, my flight to Abu Dhabi was like completely free of cost only because of these points that I've actually traded in. Similarly, I think there's another card, I would say, Vistara came up with this access card. It's so good that your generic purchases that you make, right, be it your day-to-day purchases like groceries or anything, they keep adding on to your points, and then those points can be redeemable on a Vistara flight. So things like that. So most of these credit cards actually have value-added services. Most of them offer concierge services as well, which not many people take a look at. Recently, I was stuck with a certain visa for a country that I planned to travel. I couldn't find a better travel agent than Amex's visa concierge itself, who kind of like came home, took all my documents, went did everything, and everything was done like free of charge.
But also at the same time, as you use your card and you progress up in the cards category, you start getting more benefits.
Well, I think it's depends on which card you're eligible, and each of these cards have certain benefits that you can actually work around.
For example, I have a HDFC Regalia. Let's just say that's like the best card that they have. So the higher the spend, I get more points for that. How does it work?
It works in different ways. Like the higher you spend, you obviously whatever your spends are, you get a certain percentage of that spend as points. I think, in Access, if I remember it correctly, if you spend 40 rupees, you get a 1 point. And 1 point is worth around 1.25 rupees. So that way, imagine the number of points you can accumulate. Say, you've just got a shopping for 3,000 bucks, and you already have like close to, say,
almost
100, 200 bucks in your pocket. So imagine all these points getting accumulated. And the best thing is, some of these cards also offer a certain benefits when you transfer it to their own loyalty services. And like for instance, if I transfer my MX card to a Marriott Bonvoy, I end up getting certain extra 20% more points just because I've transferred from an MX to this. So 20% more means I'm literally getting a 20% discount on a room in Marriott Bonvoy. So that's how these credit card hacks work. And the higher your spends, the more your points, and then the more the benefits also that you get. And sometimes they offer you a lot of value-added services that I was telling you about, like golf and things like that. Comes most of it come free. There are times where you get travel concierge, where people would just pick you up from the airport, help you with your whole check-in process and everything for you and your entire family, pick you up from your landing airport as well. And
a lot of times people find, this is just too much, who needs this service? But once you experience that and you get that hands-on concierge service, it's quite addicting.
It is. And when you have it within your kitty, why not just use it? And the classic example is how I was just stuck with a certain visa, and then everything just got sorted because I couldn't find a right travel agent to help me out, but the MX concierge just kind of like helped me out with it.
Yes. Yeah. So I hope this helps our viewers and they start using their credit
Similarly,
cards.
I think not just credit cards, I would say any of these loyalty points that you have, hotel memberships, it could be anywhere. Remember that everything has a certain value that you accumulate. It's still there. You just have to figure out how to play around with these to kind of either transfer or either, make use of all these points and things like that. So, yeah.
So, I did that recently. I used a lot of my Emirates points to buy stuff from duty free lately.
Yeah, so exactly.
That was a good experience. Correct. I actually feel like, okay, I can do so much more from this.
And again, most of these points do not expire. I think most of them have like a good...
long life, at least 2 years or so.
Yeah, more than that. In fact, during pandemic, I remember I had these Emirates certain points which I just didn't know what to do. And those points helped me with, taking... the next flight that I actually wanted to fly in. So most of these points do not expire. They are there.
Plus, as you use these points also, you move up in class in their loyalty program as well.
True. Like some of these points will also help you in swap in for a business class ticket. If you're flying a premium economy, you can just swap in for a business class. Or if not, any of these add-on services that you want, that is something that's possible. So yeah, I would say, each of these spends that you do, there is certain value. Don't just randomly ignore these points, but try and extract and use as much as you can.
It's hard-earned money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So now you also curate experiences. So a part of these experiences can be your smaller lifestyle usage products. Like let's talk about niche perfumes. A lot of people don't know how to pick a perfume for themselves.
Right.
A lot comes down to their personality, the weather in the place that they live right now, the occasion they're going to use it with, the kind of dressing they're going to do with that.
Right.
So take us through that. I know that you are into fragrances.
Well, I love fragrances, of course, perfumes. And for me, I think how you come across as a person is important. That's first thing. So that way your proper grooming and your way you come across is very important, because that's what your first impression is what is created.
Fragrance has a longer lasting impact on your memory. Fragrance brings back a lot of memories.
Correct. So with that, from your appearance to again how you actually smell, which people will appreciate about it. I mean, so that way very particular. I obviously do not go with stronger perfume during the day, but rather much breezy and more
something along the blue lines.
Yeah. So with that, again, there are so many people in the market who manufacture perfumes. But again, you probably want to pick up something which a perfume manufacturer alone knows the efforts that is being put into it. Like with fast fashion comes all these access to your direct perfumes which you just get off the shelf. But in my opinion, they're good, but probably not the best. I would suggest like to pick up something which which is manufactured by the perfume maker in itself. I was giving you an example a while ago about how I picked up this perfume recently, and that is manufactured by a small group of nuns in a northern part of Italy, and they manufacture this only at a particular season because those flowers are bloomed only in that season. And why these nuns manufacture is only because they want to kind of like make a little NGO money out of it and then distribute it to their own congregation.
That's nice.
So that's a bespoke, small, meticulously done. I would want to pick up a perfume like that.
Plus also so unique that not a lot of people in town can go around smelling like you.
Correct. Exactly. So when you actually wear that perfume, there's a statement already made saying, okay, this is something I've never heard of or smelled of. I mean, what exactly it is. And that is where your conversation also strikes it with newer people. Yeah.
Many a times I've had conversations being struck up just because of the fragrance.
Right. Yeah.
So, now,
I think before I forget, I think we just spoke about perfumes, but that completely holds good with everything else also, be it with your tailoring, your clothes that you wear, the watch that you wear, the shoe that you wear, I would say instead of just picking stuff off the shelf, just pay a little more closer attention to, where is this origin coming in from? Who are the makers of it? Are they experts in that? and then you'll actually understand the value which is being put into. Like a shoemaker knows exactly, you know, the
how
size
to
of the
pick
shoe,
the product, how the fit is going
the
to
fit
be.
and everything, and that's why you find it so comfortable. Like I have been using this specific shoe for you know, almost like 6 years now.
Okay.
And I don't feel like throwing it out because that's such a bespoke, handcrafted shoe that I don't want to, you know, just throw it off.
And plus, feet are something that dictate your spinal health also. A lot of times we pick shoes that are aesthetically appealing, but use-wise, they are not the best.
Correct.
So you also need to be aware that just because someone else is having or wearing a certain shoe does not mean you jump that bandwagon. And
Correct.
Exclusivity also has to exist along with luxury, I see.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now coming to that, I actually came across your profile because of that one reel that you had made with that bespoke suit. I forgot the name of the brand. I had reached out to them. I got a suit from them. So tell us about how a person should be able to navigate their way and figure out when exactly to have a bespoke outfit for an occasion and when not to.
Well, I think it's just goes back to your individual preferences. I mean, I know of people who just want to go pick up every new collection that's actually shows up on the shelf, which is good. I mean, if they like to do it that way, and if they have that money that they want to spend every week on different things, which is good. But
I'm so sorry to cut you off. I'm asking this from a perspective of a consumer who does not want to do that, who wants to splurge only once in a while, but also how to pick. Like, for example, let's just say someone wants to buy a luxury belt for the first time. I wouldn't suggest them getting like a Gucci belt which has the print on it. I'd probably say something, very easy to style, can be used with majority of the outfits. So keeping that in mind from that consumer's perspective, is what I'm trying to ask.
So exactly. I mean, it's again ties back to how much someone wants to reuse this that material or for a longer time. If you ask me, I mean, like I was just giving you an example. I have got a customized bespoke shoes for myself, handcrafted, and I just don't feel like disposing it off because they are relevant and hold so good even 6 years later. So someone who wants to, so I would always suggest that there are a lot of things that you can pick up off the shelf, fast fashion, but there are areas where you might want to stop and invest to pick up that specific luxury, say a suit which you want to wear it as an occasional wear, and when you wear it, you are rest assured that the fit is perfect, and there's nothing else that can ever go wrong with that.
Exactly, that's the difference. Like, for example, someone buying a suit and they say, I want to keep this suit for me with a long time. I wouldn't suggest them like an Armani or something. I would probably suggest them getting a Tomford because they are known for being suit makers.
Correct.
And then people are like, okay, but that is too expensive. So please educate them about the, pay-per-use concept.
Well, I think you are the right person to explain this because you are enlightening me a little bit about that too. But just to let you know, I mean, it's all about when you actually want to invest, say a shoe that costs you say 15 grand, it's like how many times that you would want to use that and the price that you're actually paying for it. So the paper use concept that you were talking about. So I would say the thing that you invest is something which would will last for a longer time, and
and many of the times these expensive products, they like for example the shoe that you have, the bespoke shoe, I'm pretty sure because of the leather that they have used,
correct,
the more it ages, that much more beauty it speaks. It has a story to tell now.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why you're not able to throw it. It's not like it's spick and span. I'm pretty sure it's taken some beating.
Correct.
But it has a story to tell.
Correct.
So you're paying not just for the brand name. You're paying for that entire story behind it, the meticulous craftsmanship that has gone into it.
Exactly. So yeah, I would say, I mean, as much as you would want to splurge on fast fashion goods, there are also pick up stuff from the real makers, the real craftsmen who put in who come with a lot of that expertise to manufacture that good. So I would prefer picking up things from such people.
It was a great learning curve for me having you on this podcast. You have taught me how to travel, how to use my credit cards more wisely. Also good to learn about the off-camera discussions that we've had. It's a really great experience. I'd love to, spend more time with you. And thank you so much, for responding and being here on the show and being so warm to us.
So thanks for having me over. It was definitely a pleasure coming up here to, have this little chat with you. And I'm glad on the topics that you've touched upon, something which is very close to my heart. And, I wish a lot more people actually understand all these things, because there's a very narrow market of people who understand this. But I wish there are a lot more people who, understand all of these. But I'm glad we had this conversation and looking forward for more. All the best with your project, you as well.
Thank you.
I really like how this is shaping up.
Thank you so much. And guys, if you like today's podcast, then please do
share, like, and subscribe.
Press the bell icon to be notified whenever we come out with a new video.